In this video, we explore the faults and error codes of Electrolux air conditioners related to compressor issues. For Electrolux, the error codes E4, H3, and P2 are protections that activate when an overload is detected in the compressor. This problem manifests when the temperature switch located on top of the compressor sends a signal to the electronic control module of the external unit due to measuring a higher than normal temperature at the compressor head. To solve this problem, the first step is to check the connection of the overload switch located on the compressor to rule out a false alarm. Ensure that all electrical contacts are in good condition, both on the compressor and the electronic board. Check the cleanliness of the condenser and the operation of the condenser fan. Remember to verify the proper insulation of the air conditioner pipes. Generally, the codes H5 and P0 in Electrolux units are generated when the inverter module protection, known as the IPM module, is activated. This code frequently appears when the IPM module's heat sink is loose and not making perfect contact, or when there are issues with the insulating paste or gel or the screw that secures the heat sink to the IPM module. Additionally, visually check the capacitors and the traces of the electronic module located in the external unit for abnormalities. Using a multimeter, measure the value of the electrical resistances near the IPM module. They should be correct. Another cause could be an overcurrent draw from the compressor. To check this, measure the compressor's electrical current with a clamp meter before the unit shuts down. The current value measured with the clamp meter should be lower than the RLA parameter. Also, measure the voltage value supplied by the external power grid. A low voltage value increases current consumption. The error codes F6 and F8 indicate an overload limit and overcurrent, respectively. These codes are generated when there is an issue with the compressor's operation or functionality. To resolve this, follow these steps. First, verify the correct voltage supply from the external source. Additionally, check the connections from the external board to the compressor. You can disconnect the unit from the power and, using a multimeter set to the resistance scale, measure the value of all internal resistances of the compressor motor coils. To do this, measure the values between two energy connection pins on the compressor. All measurements should be equal. Check the electrical connections between the external and internal units for loose points that cause poor electrical contact. Some Electrolux inverter units have a temperature sensor on the compressor discharge line, allowing them to measure the refrigerant gas temperature behavior after compression. Generally, abnormalities with the signal or the temperature values indicated by this sensor are related to codes F5 and F9. To resolve this fault, first rule out problems with the discharge temperature sensor by visually checking its connection and position. If the problem is not found, disconnect the sensor from the electronic board and measure its electrical resistance with a multimeter set to the kiloohm scale. The electrical resistance value measured at the sensor should be neither zero nor infinite and should decrease when rubbing the sensor with your hand. If you have the sensor's resistance versus temperature table, compare the kiloohm value obtained on the multimeter with the value indicated in the table. Finally, it is important to mention that before performing any of the checks mentioned above, it is recommended to disconnect the unit for several minutes and check if the fault disappears. Sometimes resetting the unit can solve the fault.